problems. I'm proud now to turn over some time to another one of our colleagues, Representative Kevin Cramer from the great state of North Dakota.
Thank you very much. I thank my colleague and friend from Ohio for leading this important discussion on this very important and somewhat scary week. Mr. Speaker, I love the opportunity to tell the story of North Dakota. You know, a lot of people think of North Dakota these days as just an oil-producing state out there somewhere in the Wild West. And while we're the second leading producer of oil, and we're rather proud of how well we do it, long before that, even long before North Dakota was one of the 10 top producers of wind energy, long before that, North Dakota was producing electricity by burning coal. In fact, for decades, North Dakota has been generating electricity burning coal. In fact, at the current burn rate, there's an 800-year supply of lignite coal under our prairies. And prior to being elected to this great institution of the People's House, I was a public service commissioner for 10 years and carried the portfolio of coal mining in our state. I got to oversee the data collection, the pre-mine permitting, the permitting of the mine, the inspections of the mines, the releasing of the bond at the life of the mine. North Dakota companies mine over 30 million tons of coal every year, Mr. Speaker, generating about 5,000 megawatts of electricity, and currently we have about 120,000 acres under permit for coal mining in our state. It's very important to North Dakota, as it is to the rest of our nation. The lignite industry in North Dakota, a state of fewer than 700,000 citizens, employs more than 28,000 of those 700,000 people and has an annual economic impact in our little state of $3 billion and generates over $100 million of tax revenue to help fund the priorities of our state. To provide some perspective, Mr. Speaker, on the wage impact of the industry in North Dakota, 2 counties, Mercer and Oliver counties, are home to 3 coal mines and 5 generating plants. And they're 2 counties with the highest wages of any county in our state, and we have a state with very high wages. But those direct economic benefits are just a small part of our story. Because you see, 79% of North Dakota's lignite is used to generate electricity for over 2 million citizens in the upper Midwest. 13.5% is used to generate synthetic natural gas that is piped to over 400,000 homes in the East. And every time I have this opportunity to address the House, I like to tell a little piece of the story. You see, 7.5% of that coal is used to generate fertilizer for our #1 industry, agriculture. It's a great part of our culture. It's what I believe makes us very good at coal mining. It's those agricultural roots. Let's talk about electricity generation for a moment. It's under such attack today. No industry in America is more under attack today than this by this administration. We're home to 7 plants, as I said, owned by rural electric cooperatives, investor-owned utilities, and provides low-cost electricity to our region. And beyond the direct employment of the high-paying jobs in this industry, by the coal mines, the generation plants, the transmission companies, the utilities, the distribution companies, our low-cost coal provides the region with some of the cheapest utility rates in the country. In fact, just today I printed out the most recent Electric Power Monthly report on the average retail price of electricity by state year-to-date, and North Dakota and the state of Washington have the lowest retail prices of any state in the country. Can you imagine what a tremendous advantage that is in the global marketplace when you're trying to attract other industries? As my colleague from Kentucky talked about, the opportunity for manufacturing in other industries. Now, we're also home to the Great Plains Synfuels plant, which takes our coal and turns it into gas that's used by homes and industry. And in the process of gasifying that coal, 50% of it is captured. The carbon is captured and then shipped via pipeline to Saskatchewan for tertiary oil recovery. So we capture half of the carbon and then inject it into old oil wells and generate more oil from it. Long before carbon capture and sequestration was cool, North Dakota innovators saw it as a commercially viable byproduct of energy development. And all that's going to get squashed by these rules that we're hearing about this week. Another innovation of our coal is that we use the ash from the plants, a byproduct of the power plants. Instead of it being emitted out of the stacks, it's collected. And other entrepreneurial-minded individuals have discovered productive ways to utilize the coal ash instead of sending it to landfill. It creates a stronger, longer-lasting, and easier to work with concrete that's used in our nation's infrastructure, something that we need very badly these days. It's used in paint, insulation for stoves and refrigerators, ceiling and floor tiles, lumber, bricks and masonry, shingles and roofing materials. This is a byproduct, not a waste product. And it's certainly safe. It's used to make better bridges like the new I-35 bridge in Minneapolis, better footings for wind towers. The many, many wind towers in North Dakota are actually attached to coal ash concrete. And their ability to sell this byproduct allows our utilities to keep electricity rates low for everyone. But you might ask, what of the environment? After all, it's the air, land, and water that concerns the magnitude of rules and regulations coming out they're coming at our industries with such zeal out of this administration. I love talking about our environment in North Dakota. I submit to you, Mr. Speaker, and to our colleagues that very few places on earth are cleaner and greener than the state of North Dakota. With regard to our air, you might assume that a state with 7 power plants would have dirty air, but no, we're one of very few states that meet all ambient air quality standards as prescribed by the EPA. We're very proud of that. Oh, and by the way, remember those 2 counties, Mercer and Oliver, with the 5 power plants and the 3 coal mines? Once again this year, they received an A grade from the American Lung Association for their clean air in their annual report for 2012. But perhaps the area I'm most proud of is the reclamation of our mined lands. Before the federal government passed the Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act, the state of North Dakota passed its own reclamation laws, which were stricter, higher standards. We return our land to pre-mining use. I wish every member of Congress could come to North Dakota. I wish our president could come to North Dakota and see how good America could be and see how we reclaim our land, because we love our land. We're farmers and ranchers. Our mines take great pride in and invest vast resources in protecting our environment, their environment. Our companies have won many awards for stewardship. And you see, coal miners and utility company employees not only enjoy high-paying jobs, but they live there. They breathe the air. They drink the water. They farm the land. They're not just farmers and engineers or accountants, machinery operators, environmental scientists, rangeland biologists, truck drivers. The care of our natural resources is more important to us than it is to the EPA, quite honestly. And we do it quite well. We're a place made up of people who have proven for centuries you don't have to compromise quality of life for a high standard of living. We are an all-the-above state, and I'm very, very proud of it. And I'm proud to be here with you, my colleague from Ohio, Mr. Johnson, and to tell the story one more time about the importance of this industry. And if a war on coal is what's being waged, then we better be armed for the war, because it's worth fighting for. It's for our future. Thank you.
I thank the gentleman for yielding back, and the point that you just made and that our colleague from Kentucky made. It's not simply a war on coal. It's a war on American jobs. It's a war on the American way of life. We have to stand. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud